And we are now on. I'm going to share my screen.
I'm going to record it too, just in case.
Okay. I'm going to pull this up. Slideshow from the beginning. And I'm going to go here.
Oh, you have to give me permission. Never mind, it's recording. I can see it's recording.
Down, and there we go. Okay, so we're ready to go now. We got it all set and ready to rock and roll. Got us all set up. So want to thank everybody for being with us. This is another Thirsty for Knowledge Thursday, a weekly webinar series. It's brought to you by the Ares Foundation for Financial Education, Inc. We just want to make sure that everybody has boarded the right flight for this evening. And really what we're going to be talking about is holiday stress. And we're going to go through some tips to help you stay healthy and hopefully wealthy during the holiday season. And since we're really trying to get into the holidays with all of this, even our little Aries mascot, he's getting into that as well. He felt left off, so we wanted to make him Rudolph in terms of it. A little pre-flight checklist for everybody. We've got all your microphones are muted. The cameras have been turned off. You can have them on. It really doesn't matter because it doesn't affect us in terms of that. However, we do ask that if you do have any questions that you use the chat box. You can see the chat box feature. And I do have my co-pilot. I will introduce him in a second, who will be on the line with us, who will be checking the chat box and also making sure that I keep this flight on time and that we arrive safely at the end. And again, we're just trying to keep in the holiday spirit. Speaking of your pilots for tonight's flight, I am Tom Alessi. I'm the president of the Ares Foundation for Financial Education. I am I'm an investment advisor is really my title. I've been doing that for, it's now 21 years. And really what that means is that I am a fiduciary. I have to act as a fiduciary when I deal with any of my clients or give any investment advice. I'm going to bring my co-pilot on. Craig, why don't you give yourself an introduction, tell people a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm Craig Richardson. I'm the vice president of the Ares Foundation. I've been doing financial planning for the last 16 years, and I specialize in helping families and small businesses achieve their financial goals and have a better relationship with their money.
Tremendous. And like I said, Craig is here. He's going to be helping us make sure that this flight stays on time, but also that we end up getting safely to everything. But if you have questions, use the chat box. Craig will take us from there. We do have a guest that I'm going to bring on in a couple of minutes to help us with this, give us some tips and some strategies. I'll introduce her in a second. But right now, as I said, this presentation is brought to you by the Ares Foundation for Financial Education, Inc. You can visit us at aresfoundation.org. We are a nonprofit organization, so that is .org. Really, Ares' mission is to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. And we do that because we look at financial wellness as a contact sport. And we mean that literally, that there needs to be guidance and engagement. There needs to be one-on-one hand-holding to go along with all of the tools and calculators and apps that are out there. Because without that one-on-one hand-holding, without that guidance, the participants, the employees, nobody's participating. They're not taking advantage of it. And it's all just there and not being handled. And that's really what the Ares Foundation is all about. Trying to help people be more involved and, like we said, have a better relationship with their money. Okay, a couple of disclosures before we start up. This is a purely educational presentation. We are a nonprofit organization. We share this on our website. We share it on our YouTube channels. We just ask that if you are going to do the same and use it or share it, that you do it in an educational manner. The Ares Foundation for Financial Education, Inc. is not affiliated with any broker-dealer or securities-related business and is not a registered investment advisor. Craig and I stress over and over that if you ever have any questions, whether that's for tax, legal, or financial advice, seek the help of a professional and ask them the questions. Always look to turn to a professional for help. All right, that was a lot to go through. So one of the benefits to this is we told you it was Thirsty for Knowledge Thursdays. Craig and I like to call it Think with a Drink, which means that there are drinks on this flight this evening. We do that because we feel that even though we take the information that we share with you very, very seriously, we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And we want to have you be relaxed, imbibe, enjoy yourself. And we can't think of a better way to do that than to have a nice cold drink to go along with you. I am drinking this evening, since we're talking about being healthy, Kona Light, the blonde ale. Bills itself as a little bit of aloha in every glass and every can. Craig, what are you drinking this night?
I am drinking New England Cider Company's Connecticut Hard Cider, which must be
Connecticut hard cider. I didn't know Connecticut had hard cider. Craig.
Now you do. You learn something. See?
See, look at that. Very nice. Well, for those of you who are drinking along with us, we hope you enjoy. If you cannot or choose not to, hopefully you have something that's refreshing with you. And we say to everybody, Skol. All right. So this is holiday stress, which we are going through tips and ideas to help you stay healthy and wealthy through the holidays and some of the things that you can do. And so now I'm going to bring in our guest speaker tonight. We're so excited to have Laura Hassler with us. Laura, if you just want to introduce yourself, tell the folks a little bit about you, your organization, what you do.
Certainly. Hello, everyone. My name is Laura, and I work two different things. In my 9 to 5, I work as a benefits consultant or a health management consultant at Boston Benefit Partners. We're a boutique benefits consulting firm that really help corporations build the best benefit packages. I'm particularly focused on the health side of things, in health management, employee engagement, and those types of topics really seem to excite me. And then sort of on my opposite schedule, I work as a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for the past 8+ years. It's a passion of mine to help people see themselves differently. And so I currently work at Links Fitness Center in downtown Boston.
So let me ask you, I'm reading it on the screen there that it says you're the fund committee president. What does the fund committee do?
Sure. So that was an initiative we have at Boston Benefit Partners to sort of help with our own engagement, our own fund. So we've done things pre-COVID, I will say. We've done a lot of different activities, but we have culture days where we've gone to different restaurants within Boston that sort of focus on different types of foods. We've done scavenger hunts through the city. There's a great program that took us around the sort of Boston history, and then we did one at the Museum of Fine Arts. We've done some high ropes course, different ways for us to still find fun in everything we do.
Well, that's great. And that's sort of what we're talking a little bit about, right? So the first part of this is, and you've talked to Craig and I about sort of the 4 pillars that everybody should be thinking about when it comes to their overall well-being from a body standpoint, I guess, so is to try to stay healthy. And one of those is, physical fitness, right?
Yes.
So if you can sort of talk us through this a little bit about, the idea of physical fitness for stress reduction, because we all get stressed during the holiday.
Sure. So as you talked about the 4 pillars, which I see you have them here, we have physical, mental, nutrition, and social connection, but we'll focus in right away on the first one. And this topic overall being about stress reduction around the holidays, with Thanksgiving right around the corner. I think it's important from the physical aspect. There's tons of research out there that suggests that physical activity is a stress reliever, and staying active or being active helps to release those feel-good endorphins in your body. Really what you're looking for is any type of activity that elevates your heart rate. And so ways in which you can find this sort of physical fitness and getting physical around the holidays, understanding as we go into Thanksgiving that, every state is different, but many states, as we are here in Massachusetts, have been given guidelines of sort of reducing gatherings and maybe spending time with less people than you're used to, but getting out for that brisk walk, maybe still being able to connect with people that you cannot connect with inside is an opportunity to get those endorphins going, to get that heart rate up, to propel yourself forward. If
Laura,
getting,
sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there, but let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Does it matter time of day? Like, because everybody's schedule is different. Does it matter if I go for a walk in the morning or if I go for a walk in the afternoon? Is there?
no, it
different?
really, it doesn't. I think it matters, just in general, to get outside, to get walking, to stay physical. There are studies, if you start to pick up into a routine and it's something that you do, there are some studies that say also, it's a stress release, but it also, all right, it's releasing endorphins, it's sort of giving you energy, and the endorphins of those feel goods are, they're boosting you, they're lifting you up. So there are studies out there that says you shouldn't really be doing physical activity 8, 9, 10 o'clock when you're, then trying to go to sleep, right? Because you're almost building yourself up to try to wind your body down. But for morning, night, none of that, excuse me, morning, afternoon, those two timing differences really don't matter. It's what fits your schedule.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so, from our side of it, so that's sort of the getting physical. And Craig, what we talk to everybody about really is that creating a budget, right? So think of this from the physical aspect of you've got to do something to sort of get yourself on track here, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about creating a budget?
Sure. So one of the first things we do when we start talking to somebody about financial planning is the same thing. It's taking the physical part of putting down what your budget is. What are you spending? What is your income? And then going through those so you get an understanding of where your money is going. Because that's the start of financial planning. If you don't know where your money.
So Craig, I'm going to stop you real quick because I wanted to ask you this question on that. So let's just say I'm somebody and, basically I have no idea, right? My money comes in, my money goes out. I don't really look at it. I don't really track it. What are some of the steps I could do to sort of get a handle on where, like, should I be looking at my credit card statement? Should I be looking at my bank statement? Should I be putting them all together? What are some of the tips there?
Well, all the above. I guess it depends on how do you spend money, right? So do you spend cash? Do you pay by check? Do you use a debit card or a credit card? That's going to, and if you are using a credit card or a debit card, it is a good tool because it allows you to track everything that you are spending. It automatically tracks that. You just need your statement, and that's a good start.
It slides into tracking your expenses, right? So that's what you were talking about, getting a handle on where everything is and where everything is going.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, your pay stub, it will tell you what you have for income coming in, which is also important. Not just know what's going out, but what's coming in as well. Right. With budget, you're going to be trying to balance those two things.
Yeah, so that's very important. It's sort of the two columns, right? I got to know what I've got coming in, what my monthly earning is, but I also then have to figure out what I got going out.
Correct.
And when we talk about going out, we talk about it in two different levels, right? We talk about it going out for what I would call those hard dollar, the rent, the mortgage, the insurances, the stuff I need, and then soft dollar, which is that other stuff that's being spent, that lattes, and who really knows what that's being spent on.
Well, you talk about the difference between needs and wants.
Okay.
When we talk about this from a budgeting perspective, we talk about fixed and variable expenses. Fixed expenses are going to be those hard expenses you were talking about, like I have to pay the rent or the mortgage, right? If I have a car payment, I got to pay that or they take my car away. All those fixed things that have to be, every single month you're going to have the same bill. Whether that's your cable bill, utility bill, whatever those things are. Your variable expenses are going to be those things that are lifestyle choices. Obviously you have to eat, but are you going to buy groceries or eat out? You have to buy clothes, but you're going to buy, designer clothes or, something to cover yourself with, somewhere in between. All of those are lifestyle choices, and how you budget and what you spend money on is different for everybody based on what they view as important to them.
And if we tie this to the holidays, it's really about looking at, what's available for expenses, right? What's available to be spent and
Well,
try to-
that becomes part of the problem too, right? What happens during the holidays? People tend to overspend, right? Because they feel, oh, it's a time of year, I want to be generous. And they go into, not just savings that we have here on the bottom, but they go into what we call debt, right? Not good debt, bad debt, because this is a debt with a depreciating asset. You give away a gift, it's going to be worth more money later. So it's one of those things where that's where it gets off the rails, where you start spending beyond what your income is, and then you're playing the catch-up game.
Right. Yep, exactly. Okay, so now I'm going to shift gears, and Laura, I'm going to bring you back in because you talked about this one as the second pillar, right? This mental part of it, right? Because somebody like me who has very little Craig can tell you, very little patience whatsoever. I tried to get better. I'm trying to be better, but why don't you walk us through some of this, helping that
Sure.
part, the mental stress part, I think.
Yeah,
really.
exactly, which is really where, where the stress lies, right? It all lies sort of in your brain and in your mental and your emotional health, and it not just stress. I think what you just spoke about is irritability. For some people, it's anxiety. And as we get into the holiday season, coming up on Thanksgiving, coming up on Black Friday, coming up on different things that I think bring some of those, is it stress, irritability, anxiety, all these different feelings. And really the mental side of it, or a way in which you can sort of support yourself and your mental health, is when those emotions come on, or if you're feeling panicked or overwhelmed, whatever that may be. A really great exercise is box breathing. It's very simple, easy way to sort of mentally step back and take that break. I like to think about it as sometimes our brains, when we get in that stress, or that, we have so many thoughts running through our minds. I look at it like one of those train boards that sort of just keeps scrolling down. Everything keeps turning and you're feeling the pressure come. And with box breathing and any sort of mindfulness activity, the whole purpose of it is to sort of stop that from happening. And it brings you to a place where you only think about the breathing, and you find your core, you find your center. And then when you sort of come out of it, you resume, and things aren't sort of clicking down as fast. And those moments of irritations are a little less irritable. And you just had that moment of self and center to sort of start over, which it sounds, if you don't practice it, it sounds a little okay. But if you try it, it's really quite simple. You start with an inhale, you count 2, 3, 4, you hold that breath, focusing on it for 2, 3, 4. You exhale for 2, 3, 4, and then you rest. So no breathing, 2, 3, 4. And you start that box over until you sort of feel that heart rate come back down. You feel some of those, those tickers in your brain slow, and find yourself at a place that you feel a little less how you were feeling before.
Right. So is this something akin to counting to 10, basically, right?
Yeah.
The old, count, take a step back and count to 10 for a second.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more focused on some of the mindfulness practices of really trying to draw you into one thing, and that thing being your breath, right? So it's sort of giving your mind something to do so that you're distracted outside of just counting. Sometimes it's easy to get distracted. So, right, if you're holding that breath, you can't really hold that breath and think about count and think about something else. So
Okay, terrific. Appreciate that. And then then we get into sort of, I guess, meditation, which
right. So if
you're
you're
me, but so
yeah, if you're finding that technique really helpful, and you're looking for ways in which you can get into mindfulness and meditation in different avenues, right? These are 3 apps that we recommend from an employer side of things, but also are available to any individual who would like to subscribe. Some even have some free attributes, but they, like most things, they have different value adds. So it's really finding what works best for you that takes you sort of on this journey. Calm, they pull in celebrities, they pull in more storytelling to really bring you to a place of, right, it's bringing your brain to a place of not thinking of anything else other than that voice, that story. Headspace is all about repetition. So they focus on a meditation that's this one British man named Andy. He comes in every single day. He starts the same way. He tells you, a little inspirational line, and it's the same thing every day. So if you need sort of consistency, that's the one for you. And the last one, Presence, is a newer one to the scene. They're actually based here in Boston, the one that we like to support. And what they've done is they've added live meditation. So it was born out of some yoga instructors and fitness organizations here in Boston. And the idea is there's real classes that you can attend and go for meditation and mindfulness sessions or a yoga class. So it's a little bit more if you need that accountability, if you need that community, they offer that.
And so I assume these are all these apps that are available on either iTunes or
Correct.
Google Play type of.
Yep, wherever you get your apps, these are all there.
Okay. And so
These
now,
apps more fun. These things help more if you listen to them while you're eating cake.
I don't know. If you are
okay?
stressed about cake, then yes.
So well, I was going to ask for Craig, because Craig is Mr. Positivity. Is there one that you would say that has more of a positive vibe or positive flow as far as an app is concerned?
I would honestly say that all of them, they do. I think in general, the practice of mindfulness is uplifting and inspirational. I mean, all of them try to pull in positive attributes. So it's really finding how it works for you, right? If you are more of somebody who you love to scroll your Netflix, you love watching every show, Calm is probably better for you because they take you on journeys and stories and celebrity. If you are somebody who, like I said, I'm Headspace. I like repetition. I like the same thing. I like knowing a practice. I like mastering it and moving on. And if somebody likes community, I think Presence is a really good place to start.
Yeah, so these are going to be more meditation apps, not so much motivational apps.
Right.
Right.
Terrific. Yeah, so then we slide it over into, the idea of the mental state of dealing with the markets, and specifically what we've seen going on here with the pandemic, right? So the first one there is, you're never going to look at toilet paper the same way ever again, right? And part of that really is just sort of an analogy to what's going on with the markets. You didn't have this need for toilet, well, you have a need for toilet paper, but it wasn't in your brain, right? It was, you might have run into somebody who said, weirdest thing happened. I went to the store today and there was no toilet paper on any of the shelves. And you thought, that's strange. And then you went to the store like a week later and you know what? There was still no toilet paper on the shelves. And you thought, that's strange. Maybe I should be thinking about this. And then you go again and there's still no toilet paper. Now your brain starts to say, hey, I need this. And then you're running around trying to find it and you can't find it. And then you start to panic. And now I got to have it, and then I want it, and I got to buy it. And that's what happens with the markets. And
because Americans are always worried about covering their butt. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. You want CYA, absolutely, right? So, but part of it was what was happening, and what Craig and I refer to as FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. And the fear of missing out is that I'm not going to get in, right? So this market is skyrocketing. I got to get in. Well, then it's turning the other way and it's going negative. It's on a downturn. Well, I got to get out because I got to get out before it crashes. What am I going to do? And then next thing you know, you're bouncing all over the place and you're not really sticking to your set risk tolerance, your set plan, what you should be doing instead of worrying about what everybody else is doing out there. And really the idea is trying to find that mix that's right for you. The way I describe it is to take the motion sickness out of your portfolio. Stick to the plan that works for you and stay on that track. Don't get dissuaded or worry about what's going on in the universe. And really for, retirement account, plan participants, Craig and I have been, since the beginning of this thing, the mantra that everybody keeps telling you is when it comes to COVID-19, wash your hands, don't touch your face. We just did the opposite. We took that and just said, wash your hands, don't touch your 401k. Keep participating in the plan, keep being a part, because you are buying as these swings occur. You're buying on the way up, you're buying on the way down, and you are doing what is known as dollar cost averaging on the outside, in terms of the end of it. As far as your other investments that are, non-qualified, that's after-tax dollars, you want to just make sure that, like I said, it's the risk tolerance that you're looking for. You should go back in and reassess, because we don't know where 2021 is going to bring us. We don't know what the next phase is going to happen and what's going to occur. But you got to remember, it's always about risk.
Hey, Tom, you talk a little bit too. I mean, I get a lot of questions, especially lately, about a lot of these like day trader apps that you see hitting the marketplace.
You mean like Robinhood?
I wasn't going to name specific, but yes.
Okay.
And I saw my brother-in-law, he day trades and, he tries to market time and all of that. I mean, what can people be effectively day trading in today's environment, or is that just kind of like going to the casino?
Well, you can, but ultimately you're going to play a losing game as an individual. I'm just saying this now as an individual person, right? Because what you're dealing with are bots. You're dealing with computer programs, algorithms that are buying and selling 3 times, 5 times, 20 times faster than you can. So by the time you decide that you're getting in or getting out, you're behind the swing. And so it's one thing to say, gee, I'm going to do this. And you've seen a big push on that, with, hey, there's no sports going on. So now I'm going to day trade because that's how I'm going to do my sports betting, basically. And that's sort of what occurred with some of this.
Mhm.
But it's ultimately, as Eeyore said, it's going to end in tears, right? It's going to end badly because you're trying to time everything out.
So just like Vegas, the house always wins.
Yeah, timing never works, right? It really doesn't work because you're just you're behind it anyway, because there's all of these institutional funds and institutional money that are operating off of algorithms that you're not access to, and it's speed and rapid trading that you don't have the ability to keep up with.
Mm.
And so you can say, gee, I'm going to go in and go out, and you might have a little bit of success, but you're never going to get, if you're talking about fun money, right? Mad money, play money that you're dealing with, fine, have fun. But if we're talking about your investments or your overall retirement account, no, because you'll end up
seeing these like unbelievable swings in the market because of algorithm trading.
some of it.
Huge upticks and downticks on a daily basis that you never saw before.
So some of it is, some of that leads to that FOMO, to that, wait, the market's moving, I got to move with it, right? So then it spreads from there. And that's been some of the knock on this, is that you've had a lot of activity that gets generated by that because some algorithm trips the code and says, hey, it's time to sell. And boom, next thing you know, 6 or 7% of the holding moves. And then all of a sudden it looks like, hey, there's a sell-off occurring.
Like a domino effect, right?
Exactly. And that's what happens. It gets into the herd mentality and suddenly everybody's in the mix, and now we're moving for no reason. And that's what was happening a lot back, when we were talking about May and June, that some of those movements had nothing to do with anything. They were just movements because the market, there was some of that profit taking or selling was occurring, and that's what was happening.
And you saw some of those breaks actually come into play, right? Where they actually threw the stop on the market at one point.
They had to put the stop on, the stop gaps and the breaking into the markets because of that.
It's a newer tool, isn't it? After 2008. Yeah.
Right. All right. So now we're going to move on. So now we're going to go to nutrition. So the old turkey adage, right? Tryptophan, right? So talk to me about nutrition and the Yankee train here.
Yeah, so exactly. Always right around the holidays, somebody, it's particular Thanksgiving, always says, oh, do you know turkey has tryptophan, and tryptophan's going to put me right to sleep, or I'm going to take that post-turkey nap, whatever it may be. So I, am not a scientist, but I spend a lot of time reading and am very interested in the topic. But I can tell you what I can report is that it is still out for debate. But for the most part, we can break it down a little bit more. So tryptophan is an amino acid that's in the protein, right? So turkey is known for being a high protein, and tryptophan is one of the many amino acids that is in that protein. And so we'll take it separately. So when we look at tryptophan as itself, tryptophan has been proven to help increase both serotonin and melatonin levels. Melatonin, as we know, is the one that's connected to sleep. Serotonin is the one that's connected to, if you have low serotonin, usually you see people with higher anxiety and higher signs of depression. So having, a higher level of serotonin, you have less anxiety, less signs of depression. So yes, in the sense of tryptophan entering the brain, increasing these two levels, yes, you would see that it could help with your sleep and it could help, calm an anxious brain. But the one little catch about tryptophan in turkey is what I sort of was starting at the beginning, is that it's one amino acid of many that is in that protein. And so if we think about turkey like that movie, if you ever saw Osmosis Jones, right, when that protein comes through the turkey, sort of enters your body, it goes into a transport system that takes it up to the brain. And when that little transport bus gets to the brain, tryptophan is the least abundant of all the amino acids in that protein. And so when it gets to the brain, everybody else, all those other amino acids are picked first. They get off the bus, they go into the brain, and that tryptophan really gets left behind in terms of dietary tryptophan. So really the studies that say, hey, yes, tryptophan in the brain helps, is really if you had a purified tryptophan, which is a supplement, but you really only can get through, a medical professional telling you and guiding you to take that. So there's that little caveat that no, you're not going to be sleepy. If you are sleepy after eating, it's probably more about your portions than necessarily the turkey in which you've just consumed.
Yeah.
I will leave you with one other piece, because if anybody at your table is a scientist, there has been a more recent study that does say that consuming carbs with tryptophan, so with the turkey, actually helps in order for that tryptophan to get to the brain. So carbs like your potatoes, your healthy breads, we'll call them, right? When you consume those at the same time, right, when they get to the brain or when they go through the transport system, carbs produce insulin, and insulin sort of preoccupies those other amino acids, right? They take them off the train early and bring them to other muscles so that when the tryptophan gets to the brain, they're the only ones who get there, and then they get to clearly go through, and that dietary tryptophan can actually increase levels. That's still out there. I don't think it's, who knows, but it's fun to start to think about your body in that way and really what you're putting into and how it operates.
Well, I'll test your theories at Thanksgiving, okay?
Okay.
I'll eat plenty of carbs and
Well, I'm still trying to figure out the healthy bread thing, because that doesn't work for me. I don't know what that is.
healthy bread.
Healthy bread, like a wheat bread, something that, is bringing, again, when you think about Osmosis Jones, right, it's bringing other things into your body than just carbs.
So in my house, we're an Italian household. We have sausage bread. So this is bread
Sounds
with sausage, cheese, and mushrooms in it. So
Well, the mushrooms are a superfood. So there you go. Mushrooms are good.
there you go. So they get something. It's
Yeah.
really little, but all right. So now this rosemary and memory thing.
Yeah, rosemary is a really unique thing. I would definitely, especially with Thanksgiving and the other holidays to come, it's really good to cook with rosemary. There have been numerous studies that do show that the aroma of rosemary can increase memory by 75%. Memory is one, your working memory, your cognitive ability. The other one is there's been studies that show that it helps compute math problems. So really there's only things to be gained with cooking with rosemary.
Wow.
Didn't know that. See, we learn something every day. That's tremendous. We'll have to remember, I'll have to have rosemary so I remember that. There we go. All right. So then, as far as nutrition is concerned, we're talking about your bank accounts now, right? So this is really something that Craig stresses to everybody, which is really treat yourself like a bill, right? So you're good at paying your bills, you're good at making payments, but we don't really think of ourselves. And Craig, if you just want to expand on that, about how that to sort of take that view on the world.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, there's lots and lots of people I work with, and they are very, very good at paying their bills. And in certain respects, they're really good at not running up a lot of debt. The problem though, and this is a very common problem in this country, is people don't save. They don't see themselves as a bill. They don't see that I got to put away money. I got to pay the electric. I got to pay the fixed expenses. You know, they take care of all those things very responsible. But the problem is they just don't put anything away. So when that emergency happens, or that important event comes up, they're back on credit cards, using that as their rainy day savings account. So it just, and once again, puts them on that we call the hamster wheel, right? I rack up debt, but I got to pay it off. I rack up debt. Like I said, they will pay it off. They will pay their credit card bill, but they just won't see themselves as important enough to put money away. And that's too bad, because it's the cheapest money is cash. I mean, it gets you the most bang for your buck, because you're not paying interest on it. You're not borrowing it from somebody. You don't have to ask permission to use it. You just put yourself in a much more positive position if you at least have enough what we call emergency funds put away.
Right, and that's really the lesson what we talk about. And and back when the pandemic started, planners, advisors always talk to individuals about having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Well, where we are now, just before Thanksgiving and getting through the holidays here, what we're really talking to everybody is having that certainly 6, if not 8 weeks of expenses in the bank.
Yep.
And if you don't, to make that the goal, right? To come out of this holiday season, make it one, Craig and I in a month's time, our last presentation of the year is going to be resolution planning and sticking to goals and that type of thing. But one of those should be to have that emergency reserve, like Craig was just talking about, in the bank. Have that fund set up so that should another shutdown occur, should the place that you've got your current income coming from is no longer available for a time period, that you could weather a 8-week or 12-week shutdown without worrying about it, or as Craig said, getting back on the hamster wheel.
Well, to go back just a little bit, we were talking about mental health. The biggest part about money isn't math. Money is how you feel about it. It's a lot of times stress revolves around money, because people don't either want to deal with it head on, or they don't have a good plan for dealing with it. Right. So having savings in the bank, so even when you're going through a situation like we're going through right now, that 6 or 8 weeks may stretch, because maybe you're getting unemployment benefits, or you have some other smaller sources of income coming in, and now that 6 or 8 week savings lasts you 12, 16 weeks. But it gives you that sense of calm, because you've got some things under control. So control your controllables. You can't control your employment all the time. You can't control all unanticipated expenses. But these are things that you can do is kind of set yourself up in the best way possible.
Absolutely. And so we're going to move to the last pillar, which, certainly here during COVID and the quarantine has become, I think one of the hardest things, right? So this social connection, or being social or sociable, or however you want to describe that, Laura.
Yeah, I think, exactly. So when we talk about this whole topic of holiday stress and coming out of, so many months of quarantine that I can't even count, right? You sort of lose track of that. There have been, accounts of higher cases of loneliness and depression and anxiety and definitely stress. And even if that doesn't, bucket to you, the idea of spending all this time sort of in your smaller bubble, and if you are gathering with family or gathering with others or going out of your way to connect with others outside of sort of your normal routine, coming out of quarantine, it is a challenge. It is an adjustment that we, almost unbeknownst to ourselves, have made some adjustments in our lifestyle to live differently than we lived before. And the holidays do bring us to a place of trying to, reach expectations of how we celebrated in the past. And so really this idea of social connection is to make sure that you still take that time to maintain those connections if you're not spending time with people, but to be conscious of, okay, you might be more irritable by people because you've started to live your life with less people on a regular basis. You're not seeing everybody at the office. The small talk conversation isn't as much of a thing in your day-to-day life anymore. So just really to be cognizant of all those things and sort of take the different tips we talked about in terms of physical. Is it getting out for a walk and sort of using that endorphin boost to sort of keep the conversation moving forward? Is it taking that box breathing when you find the conversation turning to a way that may be, irritable or something you don't agree with and could lead you to, jump when you maybe shouldn't? Or is it what we just talked about in some of the nutrition things? I mean, is it putting more rosemary in the meal, or just sharing some of those tidbits that we just taught you with just a way to help stay connected and stay engaged with your circles?
Yeah, I know, like, that a lot of people, college age and younger, do a lot of socializing through media, right?
Yeah,
They'll have different platforms, whether it's TikTok or what's another one, Instagram, whatever,
yeah,
right? But I think when I talk to a lot of my clients who are a little older than that, they get what they say, oh, I'm zoomed out. I'm zoomed out from all these things.
exactly.
But are there a lot of different, say social networking type things that people can get involved in, whether those are events through Zoom or other types of applications that would allow people to connect in more of a fun way rather than just a business?
Yeah, and there definitely are. That's a great point. There are different ways in which, yes, virtually you can still connect. I mean, it's very true, this concept of if you are somebody who spends your 9 to 5 on Zoom with video, it's really hard to then want to do that socially. And I understand that. I feel that sometimes myself. But yes, a lot of some of those smaller businesses, some of those sort of boutique things that you find in your cities and your towns, whether it be, cooking classes, breweries, wineries. We're seeing even fitness studios have moved to have some virtual programs, some virtual options. So you can sign up to do, look within your own town if there are organizations that you typically would go in person to do these types of activities. See if they do have some virtual options where they, either have you come pick up the supplies, mail you the supplies. There's other ways in which you can still sort of build your circle, stay engaged, learn new things, interact with people in a virtual world.
Have you done any of it yourself? Have you done any virtual?
Yes, I've done I did a virtual cooking class with some of my family members from different locations. So we had somebody who joined us, who gave us a grocery list. We all went out and did it and came back and all cooked together. And then I did a winery. I'm very into wine, and there are some nutritional things about having a glass of wine and some of that cognitive ability.
You say
So
so.
I have
I
done
did
some
think of the
wineries.
drink after all.
Whatever works. I mean, it's apples. Apples are good for you.
Yeah. Yes. So I have done a
So, Laura,
winery.
I
once.
think Craig was actually asking if you, from your.
Your perspective.
Oh, our organization. I thought you meant have I attended.
No,
No,
your
do I
business,
put on
if
any?
you've done one.
So I have only done ones that others have done. I do not put on any myself. No.
So that I think that was the question, Craig, right?
Sorry about that.
I'm just waiting for your virtual workout class to come on.
My virtual workout classes, yes. Not out yet.
Okay, we'll wait.
And so we sort of flipped that to be, looking at this from that social aspect of what happens with us from the wealthy side point, right? From the financial aspect. And we keep this as keeping up with the Joneses, right? But the idea of this, I'm getting stuff and spending, especially in the holidays, right? You hear, oh, we're getting these gifts for the kids, or that gifts, or getting this or getting that for my husband or my wife, or whatever the case may be, and feeling like you've got to do the same thing. And I think that's a constant, and it sort of culminates all of the things we've talked about, right? The mental aspect, the social aspect of, it's a problem that we overspend without really thinking about the fact that all we're trying to do is just match what someone else is doing, when we're, instead of really taking a step back and thinking about what does it really matter to my family and what's important to them and what's going to connect with them, versus my trying to show or say, hey, look what I bought for somebody else type of thing. So I think you need, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think that once again comes into play, especially in the environment we are right now, when you can't do all those things and you're trying to make up for it somehow, or even what we call stress spending. right? I'm feeling stressed, so I'll go buy myself something. You know, we call them shopaholics, right? And then it's a real thing. I mean, people use that as a crutch
Right.
emotionally, and it can be devastating financially. So,
Right, and that, it slides right into that whole, the credit thing, which is, as Craig said, as he describes it, that hamster wheel of getting into debt, right? You know, using the credit card or savings for certain things makes sense. The problem is we don't do that all the time. We don't make good choices. We make, I'll call them poor choices, for lack of a better word with that, which is the example there of I'm gonna, save some money or put some money aside so the kid, for the kid's academic education, for college, versus giving the kid a trip for spring break. And we're, it just goes that way. And so it's just looking at how we're spending the money or what we're spending it on. And while, Craig and I do sort of try to say that, I was having this conversation with a client the other day where it was, he said, I have an outstanding debt, but it's really not that much. And then, it was like $2,000 or like some number like that. And I'm like, she's looking at me because I'm sort of shrugging. She's like, well, what? It's not really that bad. And I go, well, okay, if you say so, but any debt to me is bad debt. You're carrying this cost on an ongoing basis where you should be focused on getting it paid down versus just shrugging it off and saying, well, it's not that much. I can take care of it at any time. I go, well, then take care of it, right? Let's get that off the books type of thing. And so we get ourselves into this habit that it's okay to carry or have some debt, especially if we paid a bunch off, because we feel like, oh, we can always do that. And like we've talked about, what happens is you never know when that downturn or that quarantine is going to come and you're going to get stuck, and suddenly that number is going to snowball. We're heading into winter, so it's okay to use the snowball word now. We don't use that in the spring, but it's okay now.
well, that's the thing too. Just go back real quick.
Yeah.
Before we rack up, pizza in itself isn't necessarily bad. It's just paying interest on a pizza that you just already ate is bad, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. I actually have one client, and what she does is she saves up her money. Whenever she reaches $5,000 in savings, and it could take her a year, it could take her 4 years, she goes on a trip. And so it's a reward based. And then she comes back with no debt and she feels good about it because she saved the money, she enjoyed her trip, and it's a goal. So if you're buying things like you want to do a spring break and you saved up for the spring break, well, that's great. But if you're paying interest on a spring break you took 4 years ago, well, it's not so great.
Yeah, no. And that, it's funny because that's one of the things that we will talk about. I mentioned it again, the whole thing with the resolution and goal setting and that type of thing. But that's one of the tips and tricks in there that, reward yourself. It's a big thing with that. And I think that goes to that mental aspect, Laura, that positivity, that whole, as Craig said, the thing in your brain, the dopamine or whatever that it feels good, part of it, that if you can reward yourself in little increments that attach you to it, just like you described with that client who gets to that goal and takes the trip.
Mhm.
I'm rewarding myself with it. That's how you do it. I mean, it's a big factor in making it all sort of tie together. And so we're right on time here. So I'm gonna come to the wrap up with this, which is really, hopefully we've given you some ideas, some thoughts, some tips, some ideas to, stay healthy, stay safe, and most of all, stay sane through these holiday season. For everybody, we send out reminder evaluation forms. We like to get feedback from everybody, just give a little bit of idea that, or if you have some topic or idea that you'd like us to cover in the future, especially as we're plotting out for 2021, certainly let us know as part of that, but we appreciate any feedback that we get. This is Craig and I in our other world, and with our different hats on. You will see us out and about. We're in those are custom Patriots jerseys. I know they say number 12, so we're talking about looking at how we change that or move that to no longer be 12 with the Patriots jerseys. But it's also our contact information when we're out and doing stuff, and we have a lot of fun with that. We make this offer to everybody, which is we do an overview of your financial situation. The whole idea of Aries is to help you have a better handle, better relationship with your money, And as I think we've stressed enough in this, holiday stress, how about that? In terms of going through it, is that you are going to, the only way that you're really ever going to be able to save is if you know what you're spending. And the only way to do that is to get that budget together and understand what those expenses are. We can help you do that. So keep the think with a drink going in terms of this. It's what's on tap. And, the way we do that, we've got, Thanksgiving is coming up. On the 3rd, we're going to do a focus on charitable gifting. We got a couple of special guests coming in to help us with that. We've got years of experience and knowledge. On the 10th, we're going to do estate planning. We've got an attorney, Amanda Mulhall, who's going to be with us, who's going to give us some insight and really talk about different ways and the effect of not having proper beneficiary designations can do that. And then, like I said, on the 17th, the last one for our year, we're going to do resolution planning and try to give you some ideas of sort of why we do resolutions, why we fail at them, and some of the things you can do to be better at it. Craig, are there any questions out there?
Nope. As usual, we have done such a good job. We answered everybody's questions.
So Laura, for you, for anybody who, oh wait, because I know the little guy's going to come bouncing in. There's his nose. For anybody who has questions for you, where can they go to get in touch with you?
You're muted.
I'm muted. I got it. My email is lhassler@bossben.com. And also I'm on LinkedIn, so you can always find me there too.
So lhassler@bossben.com.
Correct.
Okay. Right. And they can ask questions either way, whether it's on the benefits partner or regarding some of this, what we talked about with the 4 pillars.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. That's right. Again, we want to thank you, for spending the time with us, for coming on and giving us. So hopefully people out there, you'll be a little better prepared as you go to the Thanksgiving table and get yourself. And remember that with the tryptophan, it's not the turkey, it's your plate that you're looking at that's causing you to have that sleepy feeling.
Yes.
But we want to thank everybody. And with that, I am gonna stop the presentation and say thanks and have a very safe and happy holiday.
Thank you.